Caregivers. Who are they? What do caregivers do? What are the essential dimensions of being a caregiver? Given that seniors have changing medical, social, and psychological needs, how can one meet essential caregiving requirements? Does caregiving come with satisfying rewards as well as significant frustrations and annoyances? Can being a caregiver result in resentment, anger, and broken relationships? Why is respite care important? Hello, my name is Attorney Ramsey Bahrawy, and welcome to Your Money, Your Life. Today, my guest is Christopher MacLellan, a certified senior advisor. Mr. MacLellan is the host of Be a Healthy Caregiver on Blog Talk Radio, manages a caregiver's blog on purplejacket.com, and is himself a caregiver. Chris, welcome to Your Money, Your Life. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you so much, Ramsey. It's great to be able to talk with you and to talk about what I'm passionate about, caregivers and caregiving. Thank you.
We've talked about some of the challenges that caregivers face. Are there any other big challenges that caregivers face?
Yes, it always comes down to money. Caregivers, for the most part, are putting their life on hold. It affects their work and their ability to earn an income. There was, again, I'm not usually one for statistics, but I read something here recently where family caregivers, especially women, they in their caregiving time they can lose up to $148,000 in wages. When you multiply that over a lifetime span, I mean, the amount is enormous.
Well, especially for a family that's relying on two incomes. I mean, that is a huge loss, absolutely huge loss.
Very much so, and I think with that, there needs to be some training and education, not only with the caregivers, but with employers as well. I don't know any other group of people that I've been associated with in my life that are more dedicated than family caregivers, that are more responsible than family caregivers. I couldn't understand why an employer wouldn't want to hire a family caregiver. Sure, you got to be a little bit flexible with the time because emergencies do happen. Sure. I'm very fortunate at my job here at SunServe Social Services that my time can be a little bit flexible. But I've heard so many stories from family caregivers who are afraid to talk about that they have a caregiving role at work, at home. They're afraid to talk about it at work because they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to be looked at as a slacker.
Right.
It's just a tough nut. And I think as we do shows like this, we educate the public about what the need is, then there's an opportunity for growth and for change.
Absolutely. Now, today we live in a digital age. Mm-hmm. Technology intrudes into our lives in many different and interesting ways. Let's be honest, yes. It really does. Mm-hmm. But what role does technology play in caregiving, if at all?
Well, I'm a technology buff. Caregiver. There's a number of different apps that are popping up today in caregiving, but I think the one thing that has helped family caregivers the most as it relates to technology is the ability to go online and research information from fellow caregivers. And that's, either through blogs or websites that encourage caregivers to share information. Caregivers are always looking for that next referral, that connection. And technology has helped connect caregivers together so that they know that while our caregiving journeys might be a little bit different, that caregiver that could be talking to somebody in the state of Washington to somebody in the state of Florida is going to get what they're going through, and they can share these resources. They can share their common experiences and grow from it and help each other out. I think that's one of the greatest things that technology brings to caregivers.
If you meet someone who's a new caregiver, what advice would you give that person as they're just getting started in their quest as a caregiver?
I would say two things to them right off the bat. I would say being entrusted with the care of another human being is one of the greatest honors that could be bestowed onto another person. But with that great honor, be mindful that you have to take care of yourself too. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because you're going to have some very difficult days in this caregiving journey.
You've been quoted as saying that it's an honor to be a caregiver. Would you elaborate on that? What do you mean by it's an honor?
Well, in my first caregiving experience was with my good friend, Father Richard Orlando, and I went into that caregiving experience with blinders. I didn't realize at first the multitude of his health issues. I just thought this was something that needed to be done. And it was. But in that experience, I had the opportunity to be with him when he made his transition, life transition. And when he made that transition, out of all the health calamities that were going on with him leading up to his death, when he took his last breath, I recognized that my role in this, as little as it might have been, was one of the life-changing events that I had, because I helped was a part of bringing a beautiful sunset to his life. It makes all those difficult days make sense.
You know, I agree with you, Chris. It is an honor not just to be a caregiver, but it's also an honor to be sitting with somebody when that person takes his or her last breath. I have personal experience with that with regard to my father. It's a memory I'll never forget. I was not his caregiver, my mother was, but I was the only one that sat with him when he took his last breath. And it's just a memory that you never, ever forget.
Yeah, I might have pie in the sky when I say this, but I truly believe that nobody should die by themselves.
Well, that's a good place for us to stop, Chris. Aging touches each one of us, our parents, our children, and of course ourselves. Simply put, the essential dimensions of caregiving typically involve providing unpaid assistance to a person who has trouble functioning independently in one way or another. The caregiver can be a friend, family member, or a partner. The role of a caregiver is to provide peace of mind by providing the greatest level of safety and assistance. Chris MacLellan shared with us that the key to avoiding caregiver burnout is sharing responsibility while recognizing and adhering to limits. In so doing, a caregiver will balance caregiving with other responsibilities. Despite the host of challenges facing a caregiver, caregiving does have its rewards, paramount of which is service. I believe that service may be the most honorable purpose to which we can aspire. We also learned that technology can ease the burden of caregiving. For example, one can purchase an emergency medical alert system, a fall detector, and an electronic medication dispensing system. Also, an elaborate internet-based home monitoring system is available to allow an off-site caregiver to monitor the activity or lack of activity in a home. With increased longevity, improved medical care, and treatment options, we will all ultimately need to come to grips with the dimensions of aging. So take charge of your future by doing your homework. A good place to start is by listening to Christopher MacLellan's internet radio show, Be a Healthy Caregiver. Also visit his caregiver's blog, thepurplejacket.com. For in the words of Ben Franklin, an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. In closing, thanks to my guest, Christopher MacLellan, and as always, thank you to you, our viewers, for watching Your Money, Your Life. My name is Attorney Ramsey Bahrawy, Building Your Trust.